Okay, so welcome to Entomology 10.010, the discussion sections. And I am recording this for those who may have missed the first week of discussion. Of course, there are a lot of things going on in the first week of classes, so we'll talk about our attendance policy after this. But right now, we're just going to go over what we covered in the first discussion PowerPoint so you can finish the worksheet that we have assigned to you. My name is Megan Greenwood. I'm a PhD student in the entomology department. You can find my office hours here, Fridays from 12 to 3, or you can set up an appointment with me as well if you cannot make that time. And my email address is right here, and I study yellow jackets, and Sally is the other teaching assistant for this course, and her information will be in the Canvas courses sections that she is teaching. So I'm going to introduce myself and talk a little bit about what I research, and then I have the students go over the introductions for themselves. So if we can maybe do that at another time where you can get to know what your fellow students' majors are, and maybe other interests or hobbies that they have, just so we can kind of get to know some of the other students in our demonstration or discussion sections. This is a photo that I took this last mating season for working with the native yellow jackets in Riverside, Vespula pennsylvanica. We dig up nests of yellow jackets, so of course we have to wear protection, which you can see in our suits here, and use a vacuum to get the workers that are coming out to defend the nest. And we also will sweep net, which means we're kind of going back and forth very quickly with these nets to catch any workers that made it out of the vacuum. And the workers are the only ones that sting, by the way, so that's why it's so important to catch them. And then we bring in the combs into the lab for processing. Here you can see that I am feeding some of the larvae that are in these cells here that are not capped, so they don't have this white covering over them. And they have a little larvae in there, and there's some that are empty, so that means they probably already emerged. But we process them by taking out the queens and the males and the workers and separating them often by age so that we can use them for bioassays in the lab. And what I am interested in is the chemical ecology of these insects. And chemical ecology means the chemical interactions that are happening between organisms. Often in what we're working with are pheromones, which would be interactions between the same species. So that's what we're doing with part of what we're doing with these insects, these yellow jackets, looking at what's happening during mating season to attract queens, the males to the queens. So as I mentioned, we did introductions in the course, and then I did talk about how attendance at demonstration and discussion is mandatory for this course. So you have to attend each demonstration, or if something comes up, which we know can happen, but it must be for a legitimate reason, and you cannot miss more than 2 in the quarter. You will need to contact me as soon as possible that you know you will be missing class so that we can get you to make up this work. Often I will be using an attendance quiz. I did not use it for the first section, but an attendance quiz I like to do because it gives you some information about from the lecture to jog your memory about what information was in that lecture, and the questions will be just like 1 or 2 questions, and the answers to the questions don't matter as long as I know that you tried and that you were trying to think about the material from the course. And so I will take those and use them to help me take roll call during the class. So you have to do that during the section to let me know that you were there and get credit for being in attendance. Then we will go over the schedule and syllabus. I will actually do that at the end of this PowerPoint instead of as a third topic. And then we'll go over the worksheet and live cam activity. So insect morphology checklist. We're using this checklist to help us determine what is an insect and what is not an insect. And so there's a basic image of an insect, of a basic insect over here on the right. And you can see that each insect must have 3 pairs of legs or 6 individual legs total. There must be 3 body sections: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen, at least 1 pair of antennae, 1 pair of compound eyes, and 2 pairs of wings. However, there are several insects that have evolved to lose one set of those wings, or maybe even both. So we have often adults will have 2 sets of wings for individual wings total. But for example, with flies, they only have 1 set of wings, and they have evolved their hind wings into halteres, which I will point out in a photo later in the PowerPoint. So I want you to think for a minute using that checklist that I just talked about and determine if you think this is an insect or not an insect. So this is a honeybee Apis mellifera, and I'm going to go through the checklist. I see 3 pairs of legs, so 6 legs total. I see 2 pairs of wings, which is a little difficult, but if you run along this margin here, that is the hind wing of the bee. This is the forewing. So they have 2 sets, 4 total individual wings, 1 set of antennae, 2 compound eyes, a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. So they have everything that was on the list in the previous slide. Now we're going to go to this organism. Do you think this is an insect or not an insect? All right, so here I can see 1, 2, 3 sets of legs. I'm seeing some antennae. I'm seeing at least 1 eye on this side. We can assume there's an eye on the other side. I see a head and an abdomen, and there is probably a thorax underneath this weird section where we have these parts of the exoskeleton that are providing armor for this insect. And I just gave it away that this is indeed an insect, even though the thorax is difficult and it looks like it's fused to the head. There is actually a thorax. We just have a lot of armor on this insect that protects it. And we do have the 3 pairs of legs, the 2 compound eyes, 2 pairs of antennae, but we don't see wings. So this is a flea, and it has completely evolved the loss of both of these wings, both of its wings. As we know, fleas are incredible jumpers, and you can see here that their hind legs are quite muscular. Okay, so I also want you to take a minute and think about whether these organisms are insects or they are not insects. All right, so we have a scorpion over here. These guys are not insects. First off, we're seeing 8 legs, and I don't see the segmentation that we would expect. These are crane flies. They are insects. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3 sets of wings, 6 individual wings. Legs, 3 sets of legs, 6 individual legs total. I see 1 set of wings here. And if you were in person, a lot of people in the discussion thought this was maybe a mosquito. But if you were to see this in person, you would know that it is much larger than a mosquito. And that's great because we can actually see the halteres, which is what this insect evolved their 2nd set of wings into. And these help them in their when they're flying to understand where they are in space. So it's like a gyroscope. So pretty cool. This is a spider. This is not an insect. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 legs. I don't see 3 delineated body parts. I'm only seeing 2. This a lot of people call a roly-poly bug or a pill bug. And this is a little deceiving from this angle because it almost looks like they might have like just 6 legs and we just can't see them all. But when they're rolled up, you can really see they have many legs. And I'm not seeing that segmentation of their body, although they do have 2 antennae. But they're not insects. This is a millipede. Again, way too many legs. to be considered an insect. No segmentation, right? Not an insect. This is a silverfish, and we have 3 sets of legs. And 2 antennae. And while you can't see the thorax and the abdomen again as delineated as we would like, because they have this nice armor, we do see that they do have a separate head. And you might be thinking, well, what are these? These might be legs. They're not legs. They're a type of appendage that can help them feel around, possibly do some other things. But these are the legs, the 3 sets of legs here. And this here is an insect. We have 2 sets of antennae, 3 sets of legs, compound eyes, and some wings right there. Can insects hurt us? Less than 1% of insects are considered harmful to humans. Most are friendly. So even though some of these insects might look scary, they are indeed harmless. This earwig especially, a lot of people are really scared of this guy, which I've heard is also called a pincher bug here, but cannot hurt us. These termites, mantises, moths, um, dragonflies, beetles, these insects do not hurt us. Most of them are not able to hurt us. And then if we had been able to do the touch a bug activity as we had been expected to do if we were in person, these are some examples of organisms or insects from our outreach colony. This, of course, is not an insect, but this is the Australian walking stick, which is, even though it looks like it could be harmful, again, these spikes are not harmful to humans. At least I've held these insects many times and they're very calm. They in fact barely move at all. But I have read that they can use them as protection from other bugs. And then this is our rose hair tarantula, and she just molted, so you can really see how beautiful her hair is in that rose color. And these are some insects from the outreach colony in the entomology building at UCR. And so what to do next is to fill out the worksheet. This link is also in the Canvas website for your course discussion section. And there are several live cams that you'll be asked to watch as part of that worksheet. And I'm going to go ahead and click on it so we can go over this really quickly. So some of these questions are indeed from lecture material, so you can check out your resources for the main lecture to answer some of these questions, like questions, where are we at? Sorry, like this one related to entomophagy, which if you don't remember is the consumption of insects by humans as food. And then other than that, these questions are going to go sequentially through, and I have had a couple of questions about some specific ones. So name at least one unique adaptation butterflies have and identify the purpose or role of this adaptation. I actually have made a separate video to help you with this, but by and large, people have been doing really well on this anyway. So just check through the materials up here and your lecture materials. And one of the streams was not working, so this ended up being a trick question. So just keep that in mind that that is a type of trick question. And I want to give you a hint regarding this question. What type of food do leafcutter ants eat? Leafcutter ants do not eat the leaves that they cut. So just keep that in mind that they do not eat leaves. They eat something else. So look through this, and if you still have questions afterwards, please contact me and let me know, and we can discuss it or go through some of the information in the resource. Okay, so lastly, I am going to go through Canvas quick demonstration. Let me pull that up over here. Okay, so here's the home page of Canvas, and you'll see, at least from my sections, that we have the announcements and then this welcome page, this welcome link will bring you to the first announcement that I made that has our Zoom link for the discussion for the specific section that you are in. For example, this one's Tuesdays from 8 to 8:50, has my information, so my email, and then my office hours, which will start on the 7th at this link from noon to 3 p.m. And then the assignments and discussion sections are currently empty, and we may be using these more if we don't go back to in-person, but we will keep you all updated on the status of that as we go on. And I will, of course, put an announcement in if there is something posted here. And then under the syllabus, you have my information again, the office hours, my email, the Zoom link for my office hours, and the meeting ID for my office hours. And then this is the same syllabus that is on the main course page that Dr. Rankin set up, but we went over the schedule, the brief schedule, and I did highlight the sections that I am teaching and the sections that Sally is teaching. And then going through the schedule here, we were supposed to have done the touch-a-bug on the 4th, but we are doing that worksheet instead and meeting online instead. And then next week as well, we will be meeting online to do comparative anatomy on the 11th. And then following that on January 18th, we'll be reviewing for the first midterm. On the discussion section after that, on January 25th, we'll be using and making keys. And keys are used as like a system of questions that help you to identify an insect that you're interested in. And then following this, we'll start to do some groups of insects. So Hymenoptera, bees, wasps, and ants will be starting on February 1st. Lepidoptera, moths, and butterflies on February 8th. Then the following week, February 15th, we will be reviewing for the second midterm. And then again, another group of insects after that, the pollinators, which will include some of the previous groups as well, but pollinators as a group on February 22nd. And then we'll be doing a forensic activity related to entomology March 1st, which should be fun. And then lastly, our last discussion section will be insect vectored pathogens and disease activity. So talking about some of the things that insects can pass on as pathogens like viruses and other nasty stuff like that as our last discussion section. And I also want to point out, as I did before, that demonstration attendance, and participation and doing your projects and the worksheets is mandatory. This is worth a large chunk of your grades, so we recommend attending all of the sections, and again, letting us know as soon as possible if you have a legitimate reason for missing class. And again, only 2 of these sections can be missed without getting special permission. And you can read through the rest of this at your leisure. And Dr. Rankin also went over a lot of information on the syllabus in the first lecture section, which is recorded and under the Canvas course for the lecture section. And then while there should be no grades in here quite yet, the grade section will be updated. I will be updating this, at least in my sections, to be as current as possible so you know where you are in the class. And if there are questions or discrepancies, contact me as soon as possible so we're not trying to figure this out at the very end of the quarter. I am very unlikely to use UJA because I don't quite know how to use it, so this video and others are probably going to be posted to YouTube, and I will just send you a private link for YouTube videos. But I don't know how to delete that, so it's there. And if you have any questions, again, please let me know. Please come to my office hours or schedule an individual appointment with me. I am open to doing appointments on weekends as well, so please let me know via email if that is something you would like to set up. And thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you very soon in the next discussion section.